Okay, so this fruit that could save your eyes is the grape. There you go. There's the answer. So the this fruit is supposedly supposed to help with eye health. And if you want to hear more about the specifics of that or the research on it, you can stick around or you can jump via the timestamp below to the explanation of the research. If you want to stick around, we'll be talking about glaciers being mated. You heard that right, being mated. What does that even mean? And then we'll talk about a few laws that have just gotten passed. One that is going to be protecting bees and insects in California, and another law around technology rules in California, and then some science from Sweden where they are improving the recycling of this common everyday thing, which we'll find out a little bit later. And then at the end of the show, we might have a vibe battle. So the vibe battle, I think it's going to be between grapes and raisins. So if you want to find out who's got the better vibe, grapes or raisins, stick around for that. And you'll got to put your opinion in on that. Put your opinion in below before you see what I have to say about that. So we can get some, and then, so let's do that. So, yeah, so that's the show. That's what's going to be happening on Eco Show. Hello and welcome to Eco Show. I'm Henry. This is a show about ecology, the environment, and things sort of happening in that space. Sometimes we talk about some other research that's vaguely related to it, like our grape stuff today isn't really strictly ecology things, but it is interesting and it makes for a good catchy title. But before we get on to our grapes, we're going to talk about glacier mating. So we know that glaciers are melting due to climate change, but there's an old practice being used to grow them by the Balti people in Pakistan. And what they do to mate glaciers is they take a chunk of a female glacier, which is what they call white glaciers, and part of a male glacier, which is what they call brown glaciers that have more sediment and things like that. What they do is they take a chunk from either one, and then they have a ritual where they pretty much mate and marry them with a with an offering and with the priest there, and then they put them in caves or areas that are away from the sun and leave them to make a little glacier baby. These areas where they're left are shady, so they're not being melted by the sun, but they still catch precipitation. So the combination of putting these together allows for you pretty much to seed glaciers, and they'll put this in areas of the mountain which are high enough that it is always at a freezing level. So we've got a little image here which shows how they do it. And so this is, we can't quite see that it's out of the sun, but you can see it's in a little lowered crevasse sort of area. But we've got these, this glacier baby, and they put it on top of a sort of sawdust and coal mixture. And this is something that's been going on for some time now, but by putting it on the coal and sawdust, it slows the movement of any water that's moving through the area, so it creates a really good conditions to seed and start a new glacier out. So very cool little practice that is going on there. There are also some other practices that are going on. So we've got another photo here of an ice stupa, and they make these by having a little, you can see this guy has got a hose with water coming out of it, and they get the water to spray into a mist, and then it will freeze. And you can see on the right there, there's this little mound of ice, and so this will freeze, and this will be over the winter time, so that in the warmer months you have a little stockpile of ice frozen there to help with your crops and things. So there are a few different practices that are going on, and the UN is actually helping to fund a bunch of these different locally based programs, because this is a really big issue in the area. There's a lot of drought facing these regions, and as climate change gets worse, there's less and less glaciers, and you'll get more flooding events and water flushing through there, so it's not as much of a slow trickle as is needed to help with agriculture. But yeah, so this is it's a pretty not good situation in there in general. So these are some cool practices, but they aren't going to counteract climate change. So there needs to be effort to halt what's going on in regards to climate change at the same time. Okay, now from the tops of the mountains to bees. So, well, this is kind of vaguely related to bees, but there's a California law that's been passed which will ban certain over-the-counter pesticides, which I believe are called nico something or other. There's sort of these synthetic nicotine compounds. Nicotine is a great herbicide, if you didn't know. That's why these tobacco plants produce nicotine, is to stop bugs from eating it. So, globally favorite drug, nicotine. And so this law will also allow the regulator to analyze worst uses of this. This pesticide in particular has already been banned in the UK and the EU for farmers even. So that's the clear thing. In California, they're just banning over-the-counter sales. So what you can get from your home goods stores, they're banning that so that there's not a release of that going into the environment from private users and from homeowners and things like that. But and it sounds like there's some way for them to keep an eye on how much is being used in farming applications, but it's not super clear that this is really going to be impacting that. So hopefully this is a first step towards that. So kind of it's a sign to you if the UK and the EU have already banned this. It's kind of a sign like, hey guys, this is not good. They banned it for farmers unless it's in a greenhouse. That's in the UK and EU. So this pesticide is why it's so bad and why they're banning it is that it's toxic to bees and other insects, and it can persist in the soil for years. So you're killing some of the pests that you don't want, but then killing a lot of other things that you need, like bees. And it stays for a long time. It's carried long distances by irrigation water and things like that. And in California, many surface waters are really contaminated with these. So really not a good situation. So hopefully there's a positive impact that's made from this by this law. But it looks like there needs to be more done for cleaning up what's already out there, probably, and really controlling those farming uses, because surely the the most impactful aspect of that is from farmers. No hate to farmers. You're working with what you got, but not good there. So on from that, we've got another law. So this is sort of law season in California. So this is why we've got all these California law news. And California, state with over 30 million people. So laws that get passed here tend to have impacts around the country in the U.S. And the U.S., has impacts. So that's why we're talking about California. And I'm from California, so that's why we're talking about California. So this other law, California Right to Repair Act, and people hate on California, but come on, guys, you can't hate on this. Listen to this law. This is pretty good step. So many products, as we know, are designed to degrade quickly and break down, and are usually made so that you have to discard the whole thing. So usually there's not the ability to repair different technology that you get and that sort of thing. So this new law is for technology companies, and they'll need to provide parts and manuals for repairing smartphones for 7 years after release. I think if they were over $100. If they're less than $100, I think they need to supply manuals and parts for 3 years after the release of that item. There are similar laws that have been passed in Minnesota and New York, but they're not for as long a period of time. They're not for that 7 years that California has. And this is a pretty big deal that was passed in California because, as we'll know, we've got Silicon Valley in California, which is where a lot of these big tech companies are based. So you got to imagine that there was some big lobbying pressure against this. Or maybe this is a part of the plan. Maybe they want to make more money from selling repair kits. But either way, hopefully this is better for consumers, and it's a good start to more sustainable consumer laws. Surely, I'm pretty sure you can design a lot of this stuff to last longer than it is. There's the word. What is it? There's an Alice in Chains song that is about, dang it, redundancy something. It's not redundancy. It's, oh well, we'll see if it comes to me later. Okay, keeping on this wave of technology news, we've got some battery recycling improvements coming out of Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden, which is one of their big tech universities there. And they've developed a more efficient way to recycle batteries. And they're able to recover 100% of aluminium and 98% of lithium from these batteries. So what they do is they pulverize the battery down into a little powder and immerse it in oxalic acid, which is there's some benefits to using oxalic acid because it's not one of these highly synthetic acids. And so I believe the production of this acid is possibly less environmentally harmful as the production of other solvents may be. And so you can remove aluminum and lithium well from it, and they're working on improving recovery of other metals like cobalt and other rare metals from batteries. But good to see that there are these improvements in place, because we've got the law on the right to repair and they're important for so many different sustainability reasons. But these batteries and metals and things that often will get just dumped into landfills are as far as I'm aware, are a pretty unexplored issue that we're going to have to deal with at some point. So it'd be great to get a really solid system in place. It looks like we are going to be, using more and more batteries. So to have a really robust system of recycling is going to be crucially important if we want to keep our environments happy and healthy and free of nasties. Okay, and on to our last news piece. If you've jumped from the start of the show to here, welcome. You're in the grape zone. So there's this research that was done about the impacts of grapes with eye degeneration. So this research was done at the National University of Singapore, another highly regarded university. They studied 34 results, so not a huge group of people, but still a decent size. And half of them ate 1.5 cups of grapes a day for 16 weeks, and the other half ate a placebo for 16 weeks. I'd love to see what the placebo grape was. And these things are always so funny when you have it's not funny, it's kind of sad when you've got half of a group of people who are like, we're going to put on this, medicine. And then you see them, they get this improvement. And then the other half are just like, they didn't get any treatment. It sucks. Anyways. If you're going to participate in it, you want something, a benefit out of it. Big respect points to all these people that are volunteering for these studies. Oftentimes, these research studies are with college students, and they're usually enticed to be a part of these studies with with gift cards to Amazon or things like that. But this study was working with older adults. So I didn't write down the age of adults, but they were older folks and older Singaporean folks. And the folks who ate grapes had significant increases in markers of eye health, and these are molecular markers. So less degradation of oxidative stress and other stuff like that. And those that didn't, the ones that were eating placebo grapes or having some sort of placebo, had increases in factors that led to more eye disease. So these biomarkers of eye disease went up in folks that were not eating the grapes. This might have been a grape extract. I should have double checked that. At the end of the article, they talk about grape extract, but either way, it's the folks who are eating the equivalent of 1.5 cups of grapes a day to benefit their eyes. They said that further research should look at functional benefits. So they were just looking at what's the impact on the things that are happening on the molecular level, on the cellular level, and they found lots of significant benefits there for eye health. But they were saying that in their study, they weren't looking at any functional things like vision sharpness, vision improvement, but they thought that would be a good thing to do next. And the benefits of doing these and using food supplements is that sometimes for different people, they're less amenable to eating supplements, and sometimes people are just more down to eat things that are, that what it is. It's like, okay, it's grapes. There's not really any suspicion around eating grapes or anything like that. So really interesting to see some definite benefit from this. And 1.5 cups of grapes is a pretty realistic amount of fruits to be eating. So this is all in the Journal of Food and Function. I wonder if wine has benefits as well. So, yeah. So there we go. There's some benefits from grapes for you. So 1.5 cups of grapes had some benefits. I'm not sure of what it takes to go from this research to being something that's then prescribed. I'm not aware of that. Not aware of that pathway, which is why I should keep to ecology research things, because that's my area. But this was interesting, and it was a good title, so I'm sorry. I had to do it, folks. Anywho, there we go. Okay, so now we're on to this vibes battle. I sort of bounced into this idea last week of having a vibes battle. And last week it was sort of bumblebees versus bees. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. But welcome to this new segment, the vibe battle. Okay, so this week our vibe battle is between raisins and grapes. So hopefully you already commented what your, if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully you already commented what your vibe preference is for raisins and grapes. I'm going to just come out and say I think raisins have a better vibe. I know it seems wrong, but grapes are they're simple, it's full of water, and I love grapes. Grapes are one of my top fruits. Love freezing grapes and eating them. It's delicious. But when it comes down to it, the raisin is just like, it's weathered, it's been dried out. It's like an elder, there's, great things about being young and all of that, but to have really been through it, to be an elder that really has made it to that point. Raisins are functional elders, There's old things, like if you think of an old moldy grape, that's not great. That's something which is old, but it's not really functional. But a raisin has stood the test of time and is still something that you can eat as a snack. You can put in oatmeal. You can, have it in trail mix. You can have it with peanut butter on celery. There's just so many great uses of raisins. You can eat them on their own. And grapes they're awesome, but you can't leave grapes in a jar I've got a jar of raisins I haven't touched in 6 months, and they're ready to go. Click my fingers or whatever, they'll be ready to go in a battle for me in a bowl of oatmeal or just as a snack. So the vibe battle for me 100% goes to raisins. They are the same thing. So they're both winners in this. So that's the upside, but you just can't take away the versatility, the steadfastness of a raisin is just, it's unbeatable. The only thing, what grapes have going for them is they can be made into wine. You can't make wine out of raisins, but that is an okay thing from grapes. They're a good snack. They do improve eye health. We did talk about that, so I'm not sure I wonder if raisins improve eye health. If raisins also improve eye health, then it's game over. But what I will say grapes have going for them is improving eye health and being a delicious fruit. Definitely it's such a great fruit because you don't have to peel it. You just have to rinse it one time and then you have to eat it. And being able to be made into wine. So grapes are good. So they're kind of creeping up for me. Grapes are also really good. Lots of benefits to grapes. But, see, now it's getting a little bit closer to my mind. But I still got to go with raisins. I think raisins are the vibe winner. So, if you've got an opinion on that, put it below. And that'll be our show for this week. If you've listened to the whole thing, thanks for sticking around. This is a YouTube show if you're watching it. It's also a podcast, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. I think it's kind of hard to find because we've got pretty much just my mom following it on the podcast platform. So the easiest way to find it may be to I'll have the link to my Instagram in the bio below, so you can go to Instagram, and then in the bio I have links to the different podcast places. So if you want to check out the podcast, you can find it there. And the Instagram, I post like reels, so I'll post clips from the show, and I also will sometimes ask for submissions. So you can check out if you follow Instagram, that's pretty much that's all you're gonna get. You're not getting much. If I end up getting some more, if the show gets bigger, then maybe I can make it more interesting, but you'll get a few posts from me a week, and I'll probably reply to you if you send me a message, because it's a small show. So that's the benefit of Instagram. That's the main place that I'll interact through. There's also a Facebook. If you want to follow the Facebook page, I'll put all the links below. It's always good to get different follows, but do what you want, live your life, and eat some grapes this week. Get some grapes, get some fruits in the diet, and so there we go. Hope you're having a great week, and we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.